First Man is the story of Neil Armstrong and the journey he took from being just an astronaut to the first man on the moon. The film stars Ryan Gosling as Neil Armstrong and Claire Foy as his wife at that time, Janet Armstrong. It also stars Pablo Schreiber, Jason Clarke, Kyle Chandler and Corey Stoll amongst others. This film is directed by Damien Chazelle, who teams up with Ryan Gosling once again after La La Land, along with composer Justin Hurwitz. If you think they would recreate some of the magic of their previous film together, you are absolutely right. But of course, this isn't a musical. It's far more somber because it documents the events that took place around that historical moment for all mankind. Now, I'm someone who has always been fascinated by the moon landings, mainly because I was always teased with Neil Armstrong as a kid while growing up, and honestly, that's a pretty cool thing to be teased about. So I didn't mind it at all, and it gave me an excellent excuse to be spaced out as a kid. But on the other hand, I also found out that there's a whole section of people who believe the moon landings were fake, and that it's a huge conspiracy staged by NASA and the American government. This film doesn't address any of that. Nevertheless, it's a different take from all the other space dramas we've seen. From the opening frames, it's evident that Chazelle is taking a very different route here. The screenplay focuses primarily on Armstrong himself and pries into his psyche. So this is no Apollo 13. Ryan Gosling is a very restrained actor who expresses a lot through his body language, and he gives us a great performance as Armstrong. There's a lot to unpack as he takes on this journey and the pressure that he faces. Armstrong made a lot of personal sacrifices. He suffered the loss of his daughter, the loss of his colleagues, and in many ways the loss of his own identity, as he had to leave his family behind for extended periods of time to train and prepare for this mission. And consider this, every time he got into a spacecraft, he didn't know if he would return, so every journey was a matter of life and death. Now, besides playing on his mind, it also played on his wife's mind. Claire Foy plays his expressive wife Janet, and she's a force to be reckoned with. She brings all of Janet's frustration, anger, and fear to the forefront. It's an interesting balance of emotions between the two, and a character study in how such an ordeal makes a difference to the people involved, besides what is visible to the public eye. This makes the film intriguing, but it can also be a tedious watch for some because of its very nature. This is not science fiction, and while some creative liberties have been taken, it's the reality of the entire event that Chazelle chooses to focus on. Now, Chazelle is also known to pay attention to the score of the film he directs, and First Man is no different. The background score is a character in itself, with Justin Hurwitz proving yet again that he's a master of his domain. His interplay between sound and silence, particularly with pivotal scenes in space, puts you right there with Armstrong in his isolation. It's an unnerving experience, but precisely as intended by the director. I'm going with 4 stars for First Man. This is a very different kind of biographical drama and not one that everyone might necessarily relate to. Nevertheless, it's meant to create a sense of wonder that's warranted for one of the most astounding achievements by humans. One giant leap for mankind indeed. Guys, were you able to watch First Man? What do you think about this Ryan Gosling starrer? Let me know in the comments below, and keep watching It's Entertainment only on Mirror Now, you first.